Fatal shots fired in broad daylight. Ahead tonight, what a gunman may have been after.
Also ahead tonight, who's being blamed for the dump fire and the cloud of smoke hovering over New Providence?
And Cobus meets the education minister. Did they get the result they were hoping for? Find out. The Bahamas tonight. The national report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us.
Topping the news tonight, a man is shot to death on the Tonic-Williams-Darling Highway this afternoon, the apparent victim of an armed robber. Police say the victim, believed to be in his 40s and 50s, was found shot to death, slumped in a sitting position on the side of a white truck just to the rear of Eagle Electric on the Tonic-Williams-Darling Highway.
CSI investigators were quickly on the scene after 1 o'clock this afternoon when the incident happened. Officer in charge of the CDU police role said that, according to witnesses, the suspect fled the scene in the direction of the Blue Hill Heights area.
Preliminary investigation revealed now that this male had stopped his truck for some reason, and in the street here behind me, where he was accosted by a male who was armed with, we believe, a shotgun, who demanded his money from him. As this male was about to exit his truck, the assailant opened fire, striking him to the upper and lower extremities. EMS responded to the scene and have pronounced the victim now as deceased. We're still trying now to make some sense as to what happened, but we do know, based on our preliminary investigations, that the assailant ran south up the hill and disappeared into the Blue Hill Pride Estate area.
Now, Rolls said that the truck the man was driving was registered to a construction company, but that was all the details he was able to share at that time, as the investigation is still in its preliminary stage. Roll added that security cameras located at the rear of one of the buildings may help them solve the murder, and a technical team will be working with the local business to see what they can help find in the trying to figure out what is wrong in that area. In the meantime, Roll is urging those who may have been in the area to come forward.
We do appeal for members of the public who may have seen or heard something to give us a call so that we can help try and solve this latest homicide.
Scrap metal scavengers who unlawfully entered the city dump Friday night are being blamed for the blaze that continues to smolder tonight, causing discomfort to residents and business along that area. Environment Minister Kenred Dorsett confirmed to reporters today that the fire has since been put out, but that heavy smoke will linger for at least another 2 to 3 days.
I'm urging residents in the neighboring communities to do. We've been in contact with the Ministry of Health and the Director of Public Health, and anyone who may have any challenges regarding breathing, respiratory issues, I would ask them to please go to the Flamingo Gardens clinic to be assessed immediately. But for us, it is the ongoing vexing issue that we have had with landfills for decades, and I'm hoping in this budgetary cycle we will be able to effectively put in the financial resources and the team to address this vexing issue once and for all.
The minister says, though, that relocation is not an option right now. Residents, though, have been calling for the site to be relocated for years.
I don't think that the landfill is going to be relocated, but I think in previous communications you've heard me talk about the transformation of the landfill into a green park. And so we're going to talk about a proper recycling materials facility, landfill remediation, and the possibility of waste to energy being a byproduct of what we do there. So all of that is going to be discussed in this budget.
Can you put a price tag on that, or?
Not as yet, because it's at the end of the day, there's so many various components to it.
Minister of Education, the Honorable Jerome Fitzgerald, met with College of the Bahamas Union of Students today, but the union fighting fee increases did not get the results they were hoping for. New non-tuition fees will increase, apparently, and that will stand.
Now, Minister Fitzgerald said education officials will in the meantime continue talks with COV's council and student union to create a balance for all involved. The students feel that the recent hike in fees is unjustified and have demanded that they be reversed.
For now, they will stay the same, but we will review it. We'll talk about it today in Cabinet. We will meet with the Ministry of Finance. I'm having the council send to me what the actual amount of revenue they plan to raise through these fees to see whether or not it's something the Ministry of Finance is prepared to offset. And so that's really where it is right now. And I said to them that we'll continue to look at these things, but they have to appreciate that education is a priority for us, but we have a lot of balancing and conflicting, interests that we have to also consider.
Meantime, the Education Minister has issued an apology to members of the student union who were barred from the House of Assembly last Wednesday. He's called the incident unfortunate and said that it never should have happened.
I was off the island, but when I heard about it, I thought it was most unfortunate. And I told them, I hope that had I been here, it would not have happened. But unfortunately, it did happen. They've come into the gallery before when I was there. And I wouldn't have anticipated that they had any intention, of course, in any disturbance whatsoever. But, unfortunately, it's one of those things. I don't think it's a reflection of the government's position. Clearly not the minister or the prime minister's position in dealing with COBA's executive.
More testimony in the Kofi Goodman murder trial today as the crime scene investigator retook the witness stand. Goodman's attorney suggested during the cross-examination of the crime scene investigator, Detective Sergeant James Colebrook, that he included hearsay evidence in his report, rushed to judgment, and drew conclusions before the evidence was reviewed. However, the detective maintained that he wrote his report based on the instructions and information he received and in accordance with his role at the time. And while Colebrook admitted that he did not know if the person found had been murdered and that no identification had been made of the body up to the time he completed his report on October 3rd of 2011, he based his report on instructions and information received. Colebrook testified yesterday that while on duty on September 28th of 2011, he and another officer were taken to the rear of a pink and white condo apartment complex on Yorkshire Drive. He said he was shown a swampy, bushy area and a track road, at the end of which he discovered a black suitcase, clear plastic, and suspected paint on top of dried leaves and other garbage. The detective said there were maggots coming from the plastic under the black suitcase, and as he removed it, he discovered a white and pink floral sheet tied at both ends, which appeared to have a body wrapped inside. After untying one of the knots in the sheet, Colebrook said he discovered a lifeless body in an advanced state of decomposition and a white plastic or garbage bag covering the head. The trial continues before Justice Bernard Turner.
Police have identified the man who drowned in Eleuthera this past Friday as 47-year-old Jeff Bolton of Sonoma Court, Palm Beach, Florida. A search team consisting of police and Defense Force officers, U.S. Coast Guard official, and local residents discovered the victim's lifeless body in waters off Bird Key, Eleuthera on Saturday. The victim was pronounced dead by the island's doctor, and investigation is continuing. Discussions of a unified busing system dates back to 2016, but the government plans to reintroduce the plan during the upcoming fiscal year.
Now, the system would bring all bus operators under one umbrella that both the government and private owners would have a stake in. The plan is intended to increase safety and reliability and to encourage the use of public transportation, thereby decreasing traffic congestion.
In fact, Minister of State in the Ministry of Transport and Aviation, the Honorable Hope Strawn, says the plan is being supported by a majority of bus drivers.
It's also being worked into the New Providence Road Improvement Project, which is in its review stage. She admits, though, it'll be costly.
It is a huge undertaking, and I'm sure that the cost involved is going to be enormous. However, we haven't really valued it. What we are doing as we speak is that the accountants, Deloitte and Tues, are actually engaged in an exercise where they are actually placing a value on the franchises because of course we know that the unification will involve the formation of a corporation with shares being issued, and it's going to be a public-private sector joint venture. And it means that we have to have valuation of the shares. We have to know what the value are for the franchise owners so that they actually know what is due to them, and the government also knows what its financial responsibility is going to be.
Now, a meeting was held recently with bus drivers to hear their concerns. Minister Strawn said they were also briefed on the many concerns and complaints that the ministry gets from the motoring public.
We had persons showing videos on the buses. We also had persons showing awful videos on the buses, things, pornography. We had a complaint from one of the bus users about pornography being shown on the buses. We also address things like their uniforms, being properly uniformed while they're driving, things like obeying the traffic, the rules, regulations, not speeding, overtaking. We just addressed the myriad of issues which the public had brought to our attention and which we feel are very, very important for the public, for the health of the public transportation system.
In our first look at weather, we have clearing skies over the northwest Bahamas and increasing winds, but outside of our studios just now, it is just a few clouds floated around. Your temperature around 79 degrees, relative humidity 70%, winds out of the north at 8 knots, barometric pressure 1,014.6 millibars. It's 29.96 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the Family Violence, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Well, coming up tonight, the sweet music corporate Bahamas is making with urban renewal.
And we're still talking winners from the high school nationals. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.